They say myths are lies we tell ourselves to explain the unexplainable. Stories to fill the void left by fear. By wonder? By ignorance? But what if they were never lies? What if dragons once flew above the earth? What if centaurs did walk among humans? What if the chimera, the hydra, the manticore, were not just fiction, but artifacts? Biological experiments? Living constructs? Engineered not for terror, but for observation. By whom? That part remains silent. Chapter 1, The Unnatural Consistency. From Greece to India, from Mesopotamia to Mesoamerica, mythical beasts appear in cultures that never met. The same patterns. The same symbols. The same anatomies. Winged lions. Serpent gods. Fire-breathing beasts. Is this convergence? Coincidence? Or is it memory? A memory we've repressed. Or rewritten. Because we were never supposed to remember. Chapter 2, The Biology of Impossibility. Some creatures defy nature. A griffin, half eagle, half lion. A mermaid, fish and human. A sphinx, a riddle maker with paws. We call them impossible. But our modern science has spliced genes. Grown ears on mice. Created glowing jellyfish with foreign DNA. If we can do it now, what could someone else have done long before? Was nature being tested? Were variables being introduced? To observe reactions. Not by us. Not for us. Chapter 3, The Observer Theory. There is a pattern in the myths. These beings always watched. Guarded gates. Asked riddles. Lived at the edges of the world. They were not predators. They were sentinels. Placed. Stationed. Positioned. As if someone, something, wanted to monitor how we reacted to them. How we feared. How we adapted. Not gods. Not monsters. Instruments of perception. Chapter 4, Interactions with the Unknown. The myths often tell of humans meeting these creatures. And surviving. Or transforming. Or being judged. The basilisk does not just kill. It tests courage. The phoenix does not merely burn. It symbolizes cycles. These are not wild animals. They are narrative instruments encoded with symbolic functions. Just like biological probes, they test responses. Track reactions. And then disappear. Chapter 5, Temporal Footprints. If they were real, where are they now? Where are the bones of unicorns? Where is the DNA of giants? Perhaps they were never meant to decay. Perhaps their flesh was programmed to disintegrate. Self-deleting organisms. Biology with expiration dates. Clean experiments leave no residue. Or maybe they were never built with earthly matter. What if what we called flesh was something else entirely? A projection into the visible layer. Temporary. Controlled. Retractable. Chapter 6, Cosmic Topology. Ancient texts often describe these creatures descending from the sky. Arriving in chariots. Emerging from clouds. Or from the sea. The sea? The sky? Both are places we still fail to fully understand. What if the barriers weren't oceans or atmosphere, but dimensions? What we call legend may have been the crossing of planes of existence. Short-lived overlaps. Carefully timed appearances. Strategic windows, through which the observers watched. And then closed. Chapter 7, Language as encryption. Myths are not straightforward. They are encoded. A serpent may not be a snake. A wing may not represent flight. Fire may not be combustion, but change. Every creature may be a cipher. A code. Symbols layered onto biology. To obscure the truth from those not yet ready. To reveal it to those who look deeper. Perhaps the creatures never lied to us. Perhaps we simply never listened in the right frequency. Chapter 8, The childhood of our species. Humans are a young species. Impressionable. Emotional. Easily distracted. Wouldn't it make sense that in our earliest phase, we were stimulated, tested with images, forms, beings, to spark language, imagination, religion, fear? Not because we were ready, but because someone was curious to see how far we could go when nudged. Chapter 9, Unanswered Parallels. Dragons in China. Dragons in Wales. Dragons in Africa. Why the dragon? What do all these cultures recall? A flying reptile, intelligent, dangerous, respected. Was this shared symbolism? Or shared experience? Did we all meet something once? And did someone, something, make sure we remembered it? Chapter 10, Rituals and Replication. Ancient civilizations mimicked their gods. Or so they thought. They painted creatures on walls. They carved them in stone. They built temples, designed costumes, even shaped cities to match their patterns. Were they worshipping? Or documenting? Trying to replicate what they had seen? Building models of visitors they didn't understand? Perhaps mythology was not invention, but reverse engineering. Chapter 11, Selective Memory. Why do only some creatures survive in myth? Where are the forgotten ones? Did we choose to remember dragons, and forget the rest? Or were the memories curated, filtered, cleansed, erased? Because perhaps the observation was over. The phase complete. The story too dangerous to retain. Chapter 12, Modern Denial. Today, we deny what we cannot measure. We demand fossils, specimens, photos. But what if they were made not to be found? What if they were never truly here, only adjacent? Close enough to observe, distant enough to disappear. We call it hallucination. We call it madness. But perhaps our ancestors were the sane ones, because they had the courage to see. Chapter 13, Science without names. We assume science is new, modern, digital. But what if a superior intelligence conducted biology, not with petri dishes, but with ecosystems? What if Earth was a laboratory, and we were never the primary subjects? Perhaps the creatures weren't errors, but control groups. Not mistakes, but deliberate insertions. Chapter 14, Why were they feared? In every myth, the creature is feared. Even the kind ones. Even the silent ones. Why? Because fear is a pure emotion. It reveals the truth in an instant. The creature was not dangerous. It was unfamiliar. Too perfect. Too symmetrical. Too out of place. And deep down, humanity recognized, this didn't belong to the Earth. Chapter 15, The Missing Link. ISNT Human. We search for the missing link in evolution. A transitional species. A connector. But what if we're asking the wrong question? What if the link we're missing is between biology and intelligence? Between matter and observation? What if the creatures of myth were bridges? Living points between the physical and the incomprehensible. And once their job was done, they left. Chapter 16, Genealogy of the Impossible. We now edit DNA. We mix genes across species. We even discuss resurrecting extinct animals. This is considered progress. But what if someone had already done it, long ago? What if the centaur, the minotaur, the harpy were early trials? Templates. Rejected versions. Left not as warnings, but clues. Chapter 17, From Creature to Code. As we shift from biology to artificial intelligence, we face a strange irony. We are now the creators. We build synthetic minds. We shape digital beings. Soon, they will tell myths of us. And they may wonder, were the humans real? Or just a phase in someone else's grand design? Chapter 18, The Silence of the Architect. No one ever claims authorship of these creatures. No names. No dates. No origin. The stories appear from nowhere. Like messages left behind, after the author has already moved on. Who, or what, designed them? Why were we allowed to see them? And more importantly, why were they taken away? Chapter 19, Memory as a Form of Control. We forget slowly. Generation by generation. But fragments remain. In books. In symbols? In dreams? Maybe the creatures live on not in the wild, but in the wiring of the human psyche. Dormant images. Archived signals. Waiting for a new phase. A new test. A new observer. Chapter 20, What Remains Unseen. What if the creatures never left? What if we simply lost the ability to perceive them? What if our vision has narrowed? Our minds dulled? Our frequencies blocked? Maybe they still walk beside us. Invisible not because they hide, but because we've forgotten how to see. And maybe, just maybe, they're still watching us. Not as myths? Not as monsters? But as mirrors. Have you ever wondered about the creatures of ancient lore? Dragons, griffins, and mermaids fill our tales, blurring the lines of reality. Today, we explore a bold idea. What if these myths held kernels of truth? What if those creatures were more than just stories? From Greece to India, myths arise across cultures. Curious, right? Nearly every civilization has some version of fantastical beasts. Their consistent appearance raises questions. Is it coincidence, or does it hint at a shared memory? A memory we've buried, perhaps? Consider the biology of these mythical beings. Many seem impossible, like a sphinx with human intellect and lion's strength. Yet, modern science blends genetic traits. Imagine what predecessors might have accomplished. Nature tested, boundaries pushed. The implications are profound. Next, let's unveil the observer theory. Legends tell of these creatures guarding gates, acting as sentinels. No monsters, rather watchers. Were they put in place to study human reactions? Not divine beings, but tools for observation. Stories often depict humans interacting with these creatures. Sometimes they survive, sometimes they transform. A basilisk challenges courage, while a phoenix represents rebirth. These aren't mere beasts, they test our limits, track our growth. Now, let's ponder their absence. Where are the unicorn bones or giant DNA? What if they never decayed? Consider self-deleting organisms. Or perhaps these beings weren't purely biological. Could their existence be a mere projection? Ancient accounts speak of these beings descending from the sky. What if these boundaries, between Earth and the cosmos, were merely dimensional? Legends hint at crossings between realms. Ephemeral encounters, precisely timed. Myths are layered and complex. A dragon may symbolize more than danger. Every story risks being encryption. Creatures become ciphers, revealing only when interpreted correctly. What if we misread their messages, unable to perceive deeper truths? Humans, young and impressionable, seemed an exploratory subject. What if ancient beings nudged us towards imagination and belief? They could have sparked language and fear, an experiment in emotional growth. Consider global parallels. Dragons stretch from China to Wales, revered, feared, respected. Do they indicate shared experience? Or merely universal symbolism? If so, we must reflect on what we're remembering collectively. Ancient civilizations documented these beings everywhere. They worshipped, created images, and built structures in honor. Were they imitating what they witnessed? Or attempting to replicate obscured truths? Cultural memory might then be an echo of earlier encounters. Why do some creatures persist in memory while others fade away? Filtering of myth may have occurred, a curated selection of stories. Maybe some were forgotten intentionally, deemed too dangerous for remembrance. In modern times, skepticism reigns until proof is found. We demand evidence, yet what if these beings couldn't leave records? Our perceptions might have simplified encounters, labeling them hallucinations while dismissing ancestral insights. Science is often viewed as new, yet it may have ancient roots. Imagine a grand experiment where we aren't the main subjects. Myths could reveal a past control group, with beings as variables. Recurring motifs of fear surround these creatures. Not dangerous by nature, but too foreign. Humanity recognizes when something feels out of place, triggering instinctual reactions. What if the missing innovative link isn't human? Instead, it's the connection between biology and intelligence. The beings of myth might serve as bridges between the known and unknown, leaving once their purpose concluded. As we modify DNA and create synthetic life, we tread a familiar path. Soon, machines may craft their myths about us, were we real, or just part of a larger design? The creators of these myths remain anonymous. Who designed these beings? Why were we shown them? Why did they ultimately vanish? Questions linger, waiting for exploration. Memory, fading throughout generations, holds fragments. Our knowledge lives not in the wild, but in the deep recesses of our minds. Are these dormant images awakened by new observers? Think about this: what if the creatures never left? What if they exist just outside our consciousness? Perhaps our vision has narrowed, limiting our awareness. The truth may be closer than we believe, waiting for us to awaken our senses. As we conclude, remember that these mythical beings might not merely represent tales. They could be reflections, mirrors of our comprehension, observing us as we evolve. Join us in exploring these astonishing questions and theories. Hit the like button, share your thoughts, and subscribe for more mind-bending discussions. What do you believe? Let's unravel this mystery together.